everybody. Thank you so much for watching. How are you? Wow, fantasy football drafts are fast approaching, and today I'm here to talk to you about the top 10 wideouts in my fantasy football ranks. We'll call it half PPR. I don't think there's a massive difference, but we'll call it half PPR. We're sponsored by Lisa. I'll talk a little bit more about Lisa later in the video, but let's get going right now. Because if you've been listening to my podcast, and if you don't know who I am, I have a podcast, harrisfootball.com. You might like it. It's every day. But anyway, if you've been listening to my podcast, you've heard me talk about my number 10 a fair amount. It is the new Philadelphia Eagles number 1 wide receiver, Devontae Smith. They call him the Slim Reaper. We call him 120 pounds and my knee hurts. But he's a really good player. And with his former running mate now in New England, and we'll get to that guy in a moment, Devontae Smith becomes the no questions asked alpha for the Eagles. Smith has battled a hamstring problem in training camp, but I'm going to assume it's okay. He's a glidingly smooth player who is one of the league's truest terrors on a post route. One of the few guys where it really doesn't matter if there's a safety standing 10 yards out in front of him. He's still got a chance to outrun the defense and make a big play. And no, Smith isn't going to outmuscle man coverage in close quarters because he's a dang toothpick, but that's all the more reason to incorporate more screens and flares, getting the ball in his hands and letting him run. I have some doubts still about some aspects of Jalen Hurts' game, but Hurts is at the very least pretty good, and the Hurts to Smith connection simply must flourish in Philly's new offensive system, or the whole house of cards will collapse. Smith is awesome on tape. I think he'll be very good in 2026. At number 9, speaking of that familiar Philly face, A.J. Brown plays in New England now, and the drama surrounding his trade demand and the tenacity with which Brown and Mike Vrabel clearly wanted a reunion, well, it all happened, and here we are. Drake May gets the big, tough, man-beating target the Patriots lacked on their run to the Super Bowl. An incredible number of sports columns have been written speculating, is Brown washed? Did he quit on the Eagles? Did he hate Jalen Hurts? I definitely understand the top-end speed for Brown probably isn't quite the same, but I watched that film. I don't think he's washed. He still roasts man coverage. He can still get separation at the snap because he's so strong. And he can still out-muscle defenders who do stay with him. When New England started playing those good defenses in the playoffs, those defenses played press coverage, knowing Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte could not beat tight man coverage, so they just wouldn't let them get open against zone. Brown might have had his concentration wane at the end of his Eagles career, but watch the Bears game from last season, watch Chicago try and man him up, and watch what happened. If defenses do that to him and May this year, it'll be fun to watch. At number 8, I've got Drake London. He's a really good player. If you want a sense of how scary and shaky even the near best wideouts are, here's Drake London coming off an injury-plagued year, and he's got some combination of Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix throwing him the ball. And he's number 8? Oy, oy, oy. But he is, because there just aren't that many blemishless receivers, and because London is really good. I don't know that I think on tape he's a technician. I think he wins by being a dang condor. He's huge, he's strong, he's awesome against zone. Against man coverage, he gets open. He doesn't really run by anybody. He can certainly win 50-50 balls with some of the best hands currently doing it in the NFL. I really like him. I sometimes think his biggest boosters exaggerate him just a little bit. He doesn't run a ton of technical routes. When he wins, it's with size and hands, and that matters. London is a big play waiting to happen. But if there's a weakness in his fantasy profile, it's that he doesn't have a lot of other outs, which can lead to boom weeks, but also bust weeks. Add in the Falcons employing 2 quarterbacks who we are, at best, suspicious of. I'm ranking the guy 8th. I really do like him. I'm just not tempted by him until maybe middle of round 2. A quick break to thank Lisa for sponsoring these videos. I really appreciate them, and I sleep on a Lisa mattress every single night. Maybe not everyone watching this video needs a new mattress this very second, but all of us eventually wake up feeling stiff and sore, not knowing why, and then eventually we realize, oh right, it's been a long time since I got a new bed. Once you get in that mode, I hope you'll remember Leesa. They're such a good company, been sponsoring me a long time. I love the beds. You can go to Leesa.com and take a mattress quiz, figure out which is best for you. They'll deliver it to your door and give you 4 months to decide if it's perfect. And if it's not, they'll come pick it up and refund you. They're American-made, environmentally responsible, donate thousands of mattresses to families in need every year, which wouldn't matter if the beds weren't great. But the beds are really great. I love them. It's their early access Labor Day sale. Get 25% off select mattresses at Leesa.com and get an additional $50 off when you use the code Harris. That's Leesa.com, and that's a nice deal. And then also remember, use that promo code Harris. Get another $50 off as well. All right, let's get back to the countdown. Number 7 on my half PPR list, it's Nico Collins of the Texans. I think Drake London and Nico Collins are actually part of the same type. They're so big. I think Collins might be a little faster, but when they win, they're winning because they're absolute super freak athletes. And to be fair to this kind of guy, defenses can't and don't play tons of man coverage against them, because if you do, they're so big that they can outmuscle you and run by you. And so that's why you do get a lot of umbrella zones against a player like Nico Collins and Drake London, where safeties will often cheat their way to present a double team look. And this is why even players as awesome as Collins and London can have fallow weeks. But oh baby, those boom weeks. Nico Collins missed 1 game with a concussion last year, also sat out a meaningless week 18, still finished as the number 9 receiver in fantasy last year, got up over 90 scrimmage yards or a touchdown 8 different times. And yeah, the weeks when he didn't, they were pretty tough. He's not an absolute monster, sure thing, even at number 7 on my list, because there just aren't that many of those guys anymore. And Collins, like London, kind of has one main way he wins, but it is a really, really good way. At number 6, I've got Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson is one of those perfect receivers who wins multiple ways, and it feels awful to only have him down at number 6. But we have to acknowledge the reality of what happened in 2025. Jefferson played the entire season, never missed a game, and wound up as the number 30 receiver in fantasy. It was one of the least welcome surprises of the year. Jefferson only scoring twice, barely topping 1,000 yards receiving. The man is still in his prime. We know it was nothing to do with him. It was the awful Vikings quarterback play led by J.J. McCarthy. And so I would love to make the bet that Jefferson's insane talent shines through again, his ridiculous routes, his speed, his hands. But the problem is, making a first-round bet on that happening is to make a bet that Kyler Murray is capable of rescue. And I'm sorry, that's scary. Last year, Jefferson was 3rd in end zone targets among all wide receivers. They knew where their bread was buttered. He had 15. He caught 2. That's mostly not because of him. That's mostly because of terrible quarterbacks. Is Murray the one who'll fix it? Little Kyler Murray, the shortstop? My answer is maybe. I'm willing to spend a second rounder to find out, even though we all know Jefferson is a first-round talent. At number 5, still scary, still not a sure thing. I've got CeeDee Lamb, and you might already be asking yourself, wait, is CeeDee Lamb even the number 1 receiver on his own team? And the truth is, nobody can answer that for sure. Week 3 last year, Lamb took a pitch out of the backfield, suffered a high ankle sprain, cost him a month. In his absence, George Pickens took over, and it set up a pretty uneasy balance the rest of the year. So we ask ourselves, if Lamb had stayed healthy, would he have simply remained the dominant number 1 target in Dallas? Was Pickens always going to threaten that primacy? And Lamb also had a formational change under Brian Schottenheimer, which came clearer when he did come back from his injury. He was much less in the slot, much more out wide, and his average depth of target went way up, which can be really good. And Lamb is terrifying in the open field when he's healthy, but it did also remove some of the security of 1 million little short throws. Obviously, based on this rank, I am erring on the side of Lamb over Pickens because his speed-quickness combo is still great. But we still haven't reached the truly rarefied air of wideouts who I would consider in a fantasy first round. At number 4, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Over the past 3 seasons, St. Brown has finished exactly wide receiver 3 for fantasy. He is the beating heart of the Lions offense. He's a pure slot player who doesn't have amazing breakaway speed, but he's incredibly quick and shifty and might have the best hands in the NFL right now. He's the most natural fit possible for Jared Goff, too. Also a good quarterback. Also someone who has limitations. Goff wants to make a quick read and throw against man coverage that he can see right in front of him, and that makes St. Brown perfect. On downfield throws, we're just not getting a lot from Amon-Ra. He has 4 catches of 20-plus air yards in each of the past 2 seasons. By comparison, Jamison Williams, his teammate, had 9 last year alone. That leads St. Brown to being more touchdown dependent to get his fantasy points. He had 9 games under 80 yards last season, but that's okay because he scores a whole bunch of touchdowns. It's part of what his quickness and intelligence gets him. He's a really great player. He's a genre breaker because NFL teams don't usually build passing attacks to this extent around the dink-dunker receivers, but that is where we are with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, finally, we reach the 2026 elites, the guys I don't have to equivocate about or make excuses for. You could honestly have these top 3 in any order you want. At number 3, I have Puka Nacua, the new godfather of troll, last year's number 1 point getter among receivers in fantasy. Not fast at all, not really all that elusive either, but what a player. Insane hands, insane body control, insane ability to concentrate and catch a ball in traffic and take an absolute beating, and he'll get up and he'll limp off a half dozen times a game, and you'll be sure if you're watching it live, he's about to miss a month, and then he comes right back in again. So many times, Puka seems like he's covered, and Matthew Stafford will just loft it up there anyway, and Nacua will make just another ridiculous grab you think almost nobody else could make. If we're coming up with tiebreakers to separate the top 3 at this position, I guess I'll give Nacua just half a demerit exactly because he's so physical and takes such ridiculous shots in traffic. 2 years ago, he missed 6 games with injury. Last year, he missed most of 2. But Nacua does deserve to be a first-round pick in most fantasy formats. At number 2, a big success on my podcast, harrisfootball.com, last year. But the days of Jackson Smith and Jigba coming at a discount are over. He was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. What a level jump out of JSN in year 3 of his career. The Seahawks got rid of DK Metcalf. They took the training wheels off Smith and Jigba. They took him out of the slot. They split him out wide most of the time. And all the dude did was, against any coverage you put on him, against man, against zone, against double teams, it turns out his routes that we admired so much last year only got better, and nobody broke into the clear down the field more frequently than JSN last season. He led all receivers with an insane 18 catches of 20-plus air yards. He became both a possession guy and a deep ball destroyer. Now, I'll admit, he's only done it once. The guys ranked around him have been doing it longer. Now coming off a Super Bowl, JSN will have the absolute full attention of opposing defenses as the one thing you must account for in Seattle's offense. Plus, Sam Darnold. But I'm not letting any of that stop me. I'm a believer. JSN is my number 2 receiver for fantasy this year. And thus, at number 1, there's only one usual suspect we haven't accounted for. That's Jamar Chase. We call him 7 Nation Army because in his rookie training camp, people were saying he was having a hard time catching the pro ball, which doesn't have white stripes. He's come a long way since then. What a player Chase is. The closest thing, I think, that the NFL has to a running back who plays wide receiver. Chase runs about a third of his routes out of the slot. He gets tons of passes down the field, also does a lot of damage on quick hitters when they just throw it to him as soon as possible and let him be a running back against corners in the open field. Just ridiculous open field acceleration and elusiveness. He's the most talented player at the position. He plays with Joe Burrow, which, in theory is amazing. But remember, Burrow missed half the season last year, and Chase still finished as the number 5 receiver in fantasy. He's the best going, and he is my number 1. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm considering Ja'Marr Chase with the number 1 overall pick. I don't think it's good strategy to take a receiver that high, pretty much in any format. In a superflex, I'll take the QB1. I'll take Josh Allen, number 1. Otherwise, for me, running backs are just a lot more scarce. And frankly, when they don't get hurt, a lot more reliable. As we've seen, there's an awful lot of good wide receivers, and almost all of them have a lot of questions. But when we get to maybe the 4 spot or the 5 spot overall in a draft of almost any non-superflex format, I absolutely will consider Ja'Marr Chase. That will do it for this video. What do you think? Where do I have it wrong? Tell me your ranks down in the comments. Tell me your philosophy of drafting. Love to hear all about it. I want to recommend maybe check out the podcast if you haven't heard it. harrisfootball.com is where you can find out more info. Thank you to Dave Pyper for producing. Thank you to Lisa for continuing to be an incredible partner and incredible sponsor. And thank you to all of you for watching. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.